Welcome to Through the Table Podcast with Brian, JL, Tom, Rick, and Russ.
Do you guys want to talk about the NIL program?
Sure.
Go kind of interested by this. I think it's
interesting.
It is, and it's a savvy business move by a corporation, and I'm going to explain why. So 20 plus years ago, they beat WCW by letting their work and their creativity speak for itself, and it worked. This to me is a signal that they don't feel that they are as strong, at least at this stage of the game.
I think before you continue, though, you should explain what the NIL is.
I would let someone else do that, and then I'll jump in. That's where my strengths are. I like to jump in. Apparently, no one's strength is knowing what it is.
No, I know it's the next in line, but
so basically, it's their. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it has to do with you can pay NCAA athletes now, and basically they're compensating them and also helping them, I guess, get their leg in the door so they can actually pay for their rights to use them later on.
So now they're just poaching kids right out of college.
Yep. Anybody can do that now, I guess, if you do it the correct way, legal way. Before people would do it, but it was illegal. Now it's legal, but you have to do it the legal way.
Right. Isn't that what basically they're doing with
Stevenson?
With Stevenson.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But now they're just going to ban it and do it with a bunch of athletes.
Right. Just branch out and
right.
Basically what they're doing is they're eliminating the need for the independents, because if you can find guys direct out of college, NCAA athletes, talented guys and girls, you don't have to let them tool around and make a name for themselves on the independents. And this is why I said this is a brilliant business move, because what you're doing is you're eliminating a large portion of the supply chain for wrestling companies, for major wrestling companies. There's only going to be a handful of guys now out there in the independents. It's going to reduce the number of people you're going to see on the independents, which means these guys and girls going to WWE through the NIL program, they're going to be created by them. They're going to make the name by them, which means if they even leave the WWE, if they get fired, they decide they don't want to renew their contracts, they have to change their entire personality, their entire look, and start over from scratch again.
Right.
This is genius on their part, because you're basically making AEW and TNA and whoever else, you're giving a talent pool that they're never going to touch. And if they do, they have to create their own thing, which is fine. The reason why AEW has always gotten guys that have been on the independents, or even the quote unquote WWE guys who were formerly independent guys who made a name for themselves in the independents, is because they already had an established name. They're trying to become an established company who now has established people. The WWE is reducing that supply chain by creating these people from basically out of nowhere, creating a legion of clones, if you will.
Yeah.
It's genius, but it also signals that they don't feel like they can compete on the same level. So instead of going blow for blow, as in I'm going to have my in-ring and my television shows speak for themselves, it's basically saying we have no chance here, so we're going to limit the supply chain. So you're going to struggle 5, 6, 7 years from now.
It's Vince buying the territories.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
And that worked. So why won't it work again, you know?
And another thing it adds on is you get all these people, but you don't have to pay them a ton of money because they have no names. Like the independent guys,
Right.
you'd have to give them a lot more money. They can give all these guys low ball offers or whoever, you know, women, whatever it is. And they can control the amount of money they spend on these people.
It's funny to me too, because as we all know, professional wrestling, it's a fraternity. There's a lot of old school ways in it. Some of them I don't agree with, some of them I do. There's the perception when you have people who didn't pay their dues, curtain jerk in a high school in Lynn, Massachusetts. You know what I mean? It's just
Yep.
some guy that they plucked out of, like, I don't know, Brown University, who just happened to be a backup linebacker, blew his knee out, and they're like, hey,
Sure.
this guy might actually be able to do something, and we're going to bring him right to NXT, and they're going to become something and be on the main roster in 2 years. They didn't tool around driving 5 to a car 250, 300 miles to the next gig.
Right.
And they're looked at a little differently. There's a lot of resentment there for these people who didn't pay their dues. Think of guys like Maven. When he won Tough Enough, he got the crap kicked out of him in the ring. Other guys did too. So even if these guys were to leave, if they were to be successful, their contract's up, they go somewhere else. Anybody in, name the locker room, New Japan, TNA, whoever, not even just AEW.
Right.
Anytime these guys go into one of those locker rooms, they are going to be looked down upon because they didn't pay their dues.
Oh,
they
for
were
sure.
hand-picked, hand-plucked, and hand-created.
Yep.
It's weird. It's almost like, you're right, Russ. It's buying up the territories, but it's also reducing the supply chain. And it's also, in my opinion, it's kind of like a watering down almost, because you're not going to have the throngs of independent guys. Here's the other thing too. I'm sorry to go off on this for a while. I promise y'all can talk. But here's the other thing too. You're not going to, the WWE with this NIL program is going off and trying to find these top athletes. But as we all know, the majority of successful professional wrestlers who have done wonders on the independents, we're not a lot of Rhodes Scholars.
No.
We are not going to find a lot of us willing to, do these flippity flips and diving into tables and take chair shots. I don't know, hanging out at the old universities.
True.
Some of us found the third grade tough. Hi, Nick Gage. So that's my point, though. You've got guys and girls out there who, in my opinion, are incredible athletes that are never going to get looked at because they're not NCAA athletes, or they're not high school level athletes that are varsity guys. We're all weird, against the norm kind of people who maybe saw high school, college athletics as, and I'm not speaking about myself, but see it as, oh, that's what society wants me to do. I don't want to do that. And these are great, talented people that are never going to get an opportunity now. That's just my thought. I might be wrong. Y'all might have a different take. I just spent like 15 minutes babbling about that, so I'm going to stop talking for a bit.
Well, I mean,
wait, no, I'm kidding.
So I think, you're right about they're going to poach like the top level athletes and stuff. But also, to your point, and like to add on to it, like John Moxley's not a D1 athlete. Kenny Omega's not a D. You know what I mean? Like there's there's different ways to the top.
Yep.
And I think as long as there's like viable options like GCW and Ring of or whatever, like AEW, AIW, AAW, like PWG, as long as there's places to go like that, I think, just especially with just how the internet, it just makes everything so accessible.
Yeah.
It's it's still the WWE has an upper hand in picking these top tier athletes, but it's they're poaching, guys from track and field stars or like football players that blew out their knee or whatever. Just, and it's like, that's cool. I mean, you might find another Bill Goldberg or Brock Lesnar. More power
Sure.
to you. But it's once again, you're not going to find the guys like Adam Page and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So I feel like as long as the internet's still around and technology's the way it is, I feel like it, the wrestling, like other than WWE, will still thrive and be what it is. It's it's just so much content and it's not stopping, and it's
No, not at
and
all.
it's only improving.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's just basically they're just trying to get as young as possible now. You know what I mean? Like they're just right out of college, 21 years old or whatever. Just
Yep.
just move right to Florida, start training. It's
Pretty much.
just
Seems like a desperation move almost too, in a way. Kind of like, I'm gonna do this so that way it's gonna hurt you, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously
Right.
that's what you do in business. You do
Mm-hmm.
that. It's business 101. If you're not doing that, you're not trying. But I don't know. It just kind of seems like there's a hint of desperation in it. There's also a hint of this could be a good idea. This could work down the road. I don't know. I think of someone like MJF, who in his promo a few weeks ago said that in 2024 there's going to be a gigantic bidding war for him. Not if this is the direction the WWE is going in.
No.
They're not going to want to bid on him, and he's not going to want to go there
no.
because they're not going to utilize him the way that he should be utilized.
Right.
He's not a clone.
No, that's what they want right now.
Look at 2.0. Look at NXT 2.0. I'm not gonna lie to you, Rick. I don't watch it. I know you do. So every time I'm watching the channel, I was like, where the hell's Rick? I was like, where's he to tell me who these people are? Because I have no idea when I see a commercial for it. But they all look the goddamn same. They literally all look the same chiseled look, the same body type, other than the stupid ass gimmicks and the. I had a buddy of mine. We were talking about the NIL thing. Actually, I think it was this morning. We were going back and forth, and I was kind of like, "Isn't this what WCW did with the power plant?" I'm gonna ask you guys if there's a comparison there, because the power plant was their own thing. They were finding guys. That's how they found Goldberg. Goldberg just happened to be a ex-football player who was working out at the gym with Luger, and they're like, "Hey, you should come to our power plant."
But I think the power plant was more of a wrestling school. This seems to be it's like a recruitment program.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the only little difference, but they basically went to all the colleges back there with the power plant and said, "Hey, if you have any interest in wrestling, come see our classes and our seminars." So they were kind of doing a little bit of the same thing, not quite paying people, but they were trying to get the college kids to come in and be wrestlers. Like, look at Ice Train and guys like that were just completely terrible, and they put them on TV after a month of training. Couldn't handle anything.
Ice Train was awesome.
It's better than Goldberg.
I mean, it's an interesting tactic they're trying. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
I mean, time will tell on that. I just see it as for what it is. It's a business move. It's a savvy business move, and it's something that I think down the road, if it does work, and that's the key right there, if it does work, could impact AEW and TNA and all the other promotions that either are around or could be around that. I think it's something that could seriously impact them, because you're taking away a good portion of the supply chain. And once you take away that supply chain, what's AEW and TNA and so forth going to do? Right now, everything's great. There's a surplus. There is a surplus of workers out there for professional wrestling. We are living in an unprecedented time. It's fun to watch. It's exciting. 5-6 years down the road, some of these guys aren't going to be around. And if the WWE is basically, fighting the Clone Wars, who's going to be around? Who's going to be out there? So is it going to affect them now? This is more of a down the road type of thing. Could be interesting to watch and see how it goes.
I think there'll always be people out there because you have somebody like, say, an Eddie Kingston, where WWE would never even have looked at him. I don't even know if he went to college per se, but he's been a wrestling fan his whole life.
No.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, you have people like that, or like Mick Foley, where you have all these kids that want to be wrestlers that don't look like the WWE in
Right.
physique wrestler. There's still going to be those kids and girls out there that want to do that. So I don't think it'll be a limit. There'll be a limit to how many guys that are out there, because not everyone's going to be there, as you said. But there's still going to be those ones that have been wrestling fans since the age, basically they were born, that WWE is just going to look past.
Yep.
So you're going to still have those guys. It's just, you're not going to have the Greek gods or people like that, because Vince loves those looks. All those guys are going to be called for, but there's still going to be the chance of wrestlers out there. It's just, there's not going to be as many probably.
Right. Now you're going to find the diamond in the rough. Now you're going to need Tony Khan to have his own scouts, if you will, and find these diamonds in the rough that are curtain jerking at Lynn High School.
I think that's kind of why they have almost like 4 wrestling schools right now, where they've got Glacier's Academy, they've got the Nightmare Academy, they have Dustin Rhodes's in Texas that he's opening. So I think, they at least have enough that, hey, come join our thing. We'll see if you have it. And they don't care what they look like or anything like that. It's just come on down.
Didn't Bryan Danielson say he was opening up a school too?
I believe
Didn't I see that somewhere?
I think he said he was hoping to sometime next year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He must really hate to be home, because he's like working every single week. Because if I was married to a Bella, I wouldn't want to be home either.
With 2 little kids.
Yeah. Like, screw that.
And the sister's always over with her kid.
I'll go compost my poo somewhere else.
Then you got to go talk to Johnny Laurinaitis if he's around.
Ugh.
I'm sure those conversations can't be any fun.
Can someone get that man a throat lozenge?
It's been years since he can speak right.
That's terrible. One of the things I was going to say too is, and then you have like I guess like Tom said, the diamonds in the rough, where, like, for instance, a guy like Austin Theory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was trained by AR Fox.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, AR Fox is like one step above like Backyard. You know what I mean? Like he's king of the flippy flips.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have you have Austin Theory, who's talented guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's only been around, like, we saw him at that Evolve show,
He
right?
was there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what was that, 2018?
Yes. I think he's been around for 4 or 5 years, maybe. If I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah. It's not much.
He's only like 26, maybe 25.
Right.
He's not that old.
But see, there's guys like that, but I'm surprised Vince took to him, just because he's not the typical Vince guy. You know what I mean? He's
Right.
Austin Theory is probably what, 5'10",
About that.
maybe a $185.
Around
And they let him keep the Austin name.
for now.
He'll be Theory soon.
I was about to say he's going to change it to Theory. Or A Theory.
A Theory. Right.
Or
I can
Vince
see
could
it.
just be like, I never thought I'd like an Austin, but I love you, kind of thing.